everybody, this is Jacob here with Provolumes, and today we are going to show you how to put chamfers on your volume pieces. So we've went ahead and cut these volume pieces out after we took our measurements and drew them, and right now they just have flat edges. We're going to change that and put chamfers on them. So with the chamfers, we're going to refer to our plans, and whatever the plans say, that is what we are going to go off of and put in our chamfer. With that, we are going to need the table saw, and in some instances, we're going to use a jig. For these particular ones, we're going to be using a tenoning jig to get the angle that we need, because one of the angles that is on this is over 45. So since our table saw only goes to 45, we can't make a angle greater than that without being accurate, without having a jig of some sort. So we're going to show you how we mark the chamfers, and then show you some cutting of the actual chamfers themselves. We have our plans here, and our plans have the chamfers on them on each particular edge, and with these chamfers, that number that is given is not what we are going to set the saw to cut. That chamfer is what remains, so we're going to have to do some math to figure out what we need to set that saw to make sure we can get that remainder of the chamfer. So for instance, one of our chamfers is 61.7, and that is going to be this edge right here. So that means that it's going to need to have an angle chamfer of 61.7, and to get that, we are going to need to make a cut of 28.3. So we're going to mark that here, 28.3, and we're going to need to cut inward. So we just mark that and how we're going to cut to make sure we cut that correctly. And the way we got to 28.3 was doing some mathematics. We did 90 minus 61.7. Another one of our chamfer angles is 38.8. With that being said though, 90 minus 38.8 gives you 51.2. And with that, the saw can only be set to 45 degrees. So that means we're going to have to cut this one a little differently. And what we're going to have to do is cut it on its side like this. And we're going to have to set our angle for the blade a little differently. And to do that, what you do is minus your angle that you have, that you need to cut, which is 51.2, and subtract 45 from that. And for this instance, you get 6.2. And what you're going to do with that 6.2 is subtract that from 45 now. And with this one, the remainder is 38.8. So we're going to set our blade at 38.8, but we are going to be cutting it on the y-axis as opposed to the x-axis. So we're going to finish up marking all of these pieces, and then we're going to take it over to the table saw to where we can start cutting. We've got the pieces marked, and now what we're going to need to do is prepare our saw. And what we want to first do is make sure it is unplugged, and then we're going to go ahead and raise the blade just to make sure that we can accurately use our digital angle finder. And this one is a Gem Red angle finder. What it does is you just set it on there, it's magnetic, and it'll digitally tell you the angle that remains. And so therefore, instead of looking for 28.3, we're going to look for that 61.7. And so we're going to try to get it as close to that as possible. So 61.7. Awesome. And with this, what we like to do is just try to put it in multiple places. For instance, that back catch plate is in our opinion, the most reliable. So we like to try to go off that as opposed to the blade itself. Cool. So we found that angle there, and we are good. Next, what we're going to do is go ahead and set our piece up against it to try to make sure we are getting the most out of our cut. And we're just going to be applying that same principle of the teeth at the peak about halfway. And our next and final step is moving our blade guard in. So what you want to do is have your blade guard set up against your blade. And you don't want it touching your blade, you just want it as close as possible without touching it. Lock it in, and now we are ready to get these cut. One thing that you want to make sure to do is make sure you are cutting on the right side. And when I say right side, you want to make sure that your chamfer is going the correct way. So for instance, this piece, we would want the chamfer to go down like this. So therefore, we're going to have to run it through this way. So in that process of pushing them through, we did use some push sticks and pushers. So with these, they definitely will keep your hands out of the blade's range. So anything within 6 inches of the blade, you typically want to use some sort of push stick or pusher just to keep your fingers out of the blade's teeth range to where it might be able to take your fingers off. As rock climbers, we like our fingers, so let's try to keep them. So what we're going to do is just repeat the process for the other pieces now. And so first we're going to have to get the angle that we need, and this one we're going to set at 38.8. So with that angle set, what we're next going to do is bring out the tenoning jig. So this is the Grizzly Tenoning Jig, and this particular one has a nice handles and a nice setting wheel that we can go ahead and crank our pieces down to. And there's a few other things that we need to do to attach to use it. But basically what it does is just slides along the rails and allows our piece to be pushed through. So with this particular setup, what we had to do was calibrate the depth that our piece would need to be, and so that meant moving the track and moving the whole mechanism to fit to where it is butted up right against the blade, meaning that when our piece is being cut, it is being cut right along the edge, and we just stuck a 2x6 in there so it would be able to be clamped in. And other than that, we just clamp it in and make sure it is facing the right way, and then we apply the same principle that we use in setting our blade depth when we set it here, and safety glasses when we cut, and we make our cut. That piece went through pretty smoothly, and as far as that goes, when using your tenoning jig and setting it up for the first time, do some test pieces just to make sure that you are right on the edge. And we're gonna go do our next pieces and then repeat the step to set up the saw to cut that last edge. And we are also going to be using the tenoning jig. So we are going to get all that done and be back. Awesome, so we have all of the chamfers on the pieces, and we've got the pieces labeled, and we've made sure they all fit together, so everything looks good. We are going to come back in the next video and go ahead and do the assembly process. So rough little cuts of this, and it looks good. If you guys follow the measurements and the plans and were able to use your tools with precision, you guys can get a similar product. So we are going to go ahead and finish this up in the next video with some assembly. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you are in need of volume plans, go check out our website. And if you want to learn more, we do have a how-to book on the website, Provolumes. So hit that like button, hit the subscribe. Until next time.